Thank you for that question. It's a sentiment that is shared widely. I know it. And I think there's a few pieces to it. So I want to start with this where you started, right? Where we were talking about the two-tiered system, right? So for someone who is a neighborhood homeowner, who cares about our community and who's part of our community and who cares about people who live here, right? We need to roll that back. Number two, we absolutely, and I have a long track record of doing this work, of fighting to ensure that tax breaks that happen, one, with real accountability to it. So developers make agreements here, right? They make agreements with our city and they do not uphold them. And we have taken exactly one tax break agreement back in the last 20 years, right? So they come and they re-up and they get another tax break after breaking the agreement that they made with all of us. And that's something I've worked on for a very long time and will absolutely fight for. Let's pass.
Yeah, this is one of the issues that's near and dear to my heart. One of the things I want to do is I want to protect the whole 195 corridor for business development. We cannot afford to allow our hospitals and universities and places that are not going to pay the correct amount of tax. So we need to protect that whole 195 corridor. We can do that by ordinances so that only income generating by tax dollars of buildings that are projects that are in there. I think that is critical. The other piece is that we have over 42% of our property in Providence that's tax exempt. We need our hospitals and universities to pay their fair share of taxes for their parking lots, their dormitories, their food service, and their book and gift stores. This is crucial because we cannot continue to bear the burden to the renters, the homeowners, those with little cars, and those small businesses. It has to stop. And so I think that we can really push back and say it's time for us to have a fair tax system. And if we continue to stop renewing these TSAs, the tax stabilization agreements, and make companies be forced to show that they can run after the tax stabilization agreement comes to fruition and not renew it, and that's something that they have to prove to us first before we give it.
I agree 100% that these tax-exempt income-producing properties need to pay something. There is a program that hasn't been visited by the city in quite some time. I know that there are mayors in other cities and towns within our state that are using it. It's the payment in lieu of taxes. For example, the mayor of Johnston had Citizens Bank come and put a $400 million investment into his town. And he said they wanted all those tax breaks that Rose had just mentioned. But he said only if we get this. They got new recreation centers, they got new sewage drainage pipes going about a mile down their road, they got new paving on their streets surrounding this new headquarters, and they got all the equipment for that new recreation center that they had. They got a baseball field and a football field, if I remember correctly. That's something that we need to visit here. We need them, instead of paying that full amount of taxes, they need to give something back to the communities that they are in. Thank you.
I don't think that we can roll back TSAs, but I do think that we can create a threshold of what we expect the TSA to generate for the city. So to Rose's point, I do think that we can ask for TSAs not to be only used for luxury housing, but to include an affordable housing component. And I think that we can also ask for jobs or what kind of business or what kind of benefit that it has to the city. In terms of the landlord tax, I'm not sure that creating another tiered tax system of landlords who live in the neighborhood get a certain tax break, yet out-of-state ones don't, wouldn't do anything other than create two classes of housing. One where the taxes were so high that maybe they wouldn't do the improvements, or maybe they wouldn't hold the rents down, and then everybody's fighting for the one that is owned by the neighborhood landlord that would have the lower rents or that puts more into the property. So I think that the landlord tax needs to be completely unpacked and repacked. That's something that I've been supportive of from day one, because I do know that ultimately that cost gets passed on to the renter and it's not sustainable. And it's driving up costs in our neighborhood, and it's driving folks out of our neighborhoods. And our biggest challenge is to keep our neighborhood diverse and inclusive, and that's something that I'll do as your council person.